have a PowerPoint that I'm going to show after Greg introduces himself.
Yeah, my name is Greg Hardiman. I'm the Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee Chair that we kind of govern the apprenticeship program. And I'm also the organizer for the International Union of Elevator Constructors, Local 8. I got about 20 years experience, and we'll go through more details after the PowerPoint. Joel, you ready?
Yes, sir. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Hold on, let me get to up here to the top. Okay, so the reason we choose careers in the trades is high demand, job security, flexibility, career opportunities, and advancement, benefits and pay, and you get paid to learn. This trade, an IUEC mechanic, this is probably a couple years old, but the median wage across the country was $45 an hour as a journeyman. Here in Local 8, we'll get to the pay towards the end of the slideshow, but it's for a journeyman right now, it's $70 an hour. And coming in, day one, you start at 35, which is half of what a journeyman makes. You have 8,000 hours of on-the-job training that you have complete in your apprenticeship program, 576 hours of classroom time. You don't pay anything for any of that. Your benefits are you have a 401k that's offered to you that you pay into, an annuity and a pension that the company pays. Plus you get health, dental, vision, mental health. We also, through NEEP, which is who I work for, that's the education side of the IUEC, that we offer partnerships with colleges where you get discounted rates and credit for the apprenticeship hours apprenticeship schooling that you complete. There's a 6-month probationary period when you first start, and you go through all of these topics in your probationary period. So in the classroom, we use a lot of hands-on learning and virtual learning. That's one of our labs that we use in the classroom. You build that, and it's actually a working elevator. On the right-hand side of that screen, you're going to see there's a wheel over here. That's an actual working door operator. So when the elevator gets to a floor, the door's open. That's what makes it go. And it's all wired and works together. So when you hit those buttons down on the bottom left, it'll tell you, it sends the elevator to that floor, and then it opens the doors and everything. You get lots of safety training at the beginning of your apprenticeship. You'll learn an OSHA 10, a scaffolding certification, CPR first aid, AED certifications. These are some of the college partnerships that we have. And it just depends. It's all, most of it is online training or online schooling where you can earn a degree or a certificate. Some of them have some hours that you have to do on campus. Now we're going to get in. This is the type of work in the elevator industry. You have new installation and construction where you're building elevators from the ground up all the way to inspection. Modernization means you're going to bring it up to today's codes. So say it was built in the 80s, you're going to bring it up to what the code is for 2021. Service, you go in, take trouble calls on broken elevators, and you do routine maintenance. And repair, you go in and change machines, re-rope elevators, change seals on hydraulic elevators. This is a new installation project that we had going. That's the controller right there and wiring that's going to be cleaned up. You guys can feel free to ask questions throughout this. I'll answer them, or Greg will. That is a picture of an elevator shaft looking up an elevator shaft to the roof. So if you're afraid of heights, it's it's pretty challenging. That's looking up an elevator shaft right there. And that's looking down an elevator shaft. So in new construction, this is what you'll be doing. You'll be putting in these new machines, building all the guarding for the elevator. That's what a elevator machine room looks like. These are the machines that control the elevator. That's what drives the elevator up and down. Craig, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, this is what we'd call a modular elevator. They're kind of trending towards the future. Right now, they are somewhat popular in California, but they probably only make up less than 5% of the elevators going in. This stuff is built in the factory, and we just piece it together. If you look carefully, you can see there's kind of a section where it's not fully, where Joel's running the mouse in. That's where they get coupled. We would drop these in place and bolt them together. But as of right now, this is going to look probably more prevalent 10 to 20 years from now in our industry. But right now, we usually put all the pieces in place by hand. This is just an example of a modular.
So all the pictures that you've seen so far, those have all been of new construction. That's basically you start with a blank hoistway, bring everything in and install it up to code. What we're going to get into next, this would be the start of a modernization job. This mechanic here is going into an old controller, and he's figuring out what he needs to save from that controller to bring it up to standards and disconnect, and then also what needs to be tied together during the process of modernization so the whole system stays working. But this is what an old 1950s, 1960s controller would look like compared to the first one you saw with all the electronics in it. This would be another part of repair and modernization. He's going in and fixing this machine by sanding down the commutator. This is something that we do with older machines to keep them running, or if we're going to save that piece of equipment during the modernization. And then these would be all the wires that you would pull out during the modernization, and so you can change out the wiring to today's standards. This is another part of our job that we do a lot and we certify in is rigging and hoisting. These guys are putting a brand new controller up into a machine room through a stairwell. Another piece being hoisted out of a machine room down a stairwell. These two guys did the modernization. They moved all these machines and set them into place for modernization. This is an extensive modernization that's performed where these guys would come in, rip out all the old machines and put in brand new gearless machines. And it's basically just a two-man job for something this size. These two guys used all the rigging and hoisting and installed these brand new machines. That's a brand new hydraulic jack being hoisted into place in San Francisco. This is a apprentice's duty. This is during a repair. The apprentice would be going in to disconnect a motor from that hydraulic assembly. And as an apprentice, this is what happens when you drop something into a hydraulic tank. You have to dump the oil out and crawl in there and find whatever you dropped in there before the pump starts, and it ruins the equipment. These are just kind of some of the pictures that you see from the tops of the buildings that we work on. So all the highlighted area here, that is what Local 8 covers, all the way down to the Tehachapi line, south of Bakersfield, up to the Oregon border, the 118th line in Nevada, out to the coast. So in in hiring, we can hire you out of, you apply in California, we'll hire you for anywhere in California, basically. You can also be sent to Reno, but Reno has their own hiring list. But that's the area that you would be dispatched to. So you could be living in San Francisco now, get hired, and then be on your way to Fresno, Bakersfield, Sacramento, Lake Tahoe. It just depends. We hire it anywhere in this area. And here's the one that everybody wants to see. This is the wage scale that we have. Greg, you want to talk about this one? So all this stuff is.
Yeah, my bad, I was muted. So when you get hired on and from the beginning, you start off as a probationary apprentice with no benefits. After you work for 6 months, 100 hours per month is how you get classified through your probationary period. So after 6 months, you become benefit eligible and you get an increase of your wages to 55% apprentice. And you'll also start accruing health benefits, pension, annuity, and all that good stuff. As you progress through the program, you need to pass 2 semesters and get 2,000 hours. So once you pass 2 semesters and 2,000 hours, you'll become a 65% apprentice. Then you'll see 70%, 80%, and then mechanic. The 5 years vested is for vacation purposes. As you can see right there where it says vacation PTO, for every hour you work, if you have less than 5 years in the industry, 6% of your hourly wage goes into a vacation PTO account. And once you have 5 years in, you get 8% of your hourly wage into a vacation account that's paid out twice a year, or you could use it for sick leave or vacation when you have it accrued. So those are basic of our wages. And you can see the total on the far right. That's what the total package is that the company pays on you per hour. MIC is what we call foremans, and that's classification is whenever there's 2 or more crews, somebody will be classified as a MIC/foreman.
All right. So how to apply, the requirements are high school degree or GED. Our recruitments are every 2 years or when the hiring list is depleted. This year, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to extend our list out. So we're not going to actually be taking applications until the first part of 2022 right now is how we have it penciled in. And ours works where you apply online. We accept 1,000 applications. And once we hit the 1,000 applications, it shuts down. The website no longer accepts applications. Once you get through and your application is accepted, you'll be called to do an aptitude test. It's called the Elevator Industry Aptitude Test. We do not have any study guides, but I'm sure there's some out there on the web. It has basic math, reading comprehension, and also you have a tool assessment. It's just basic hand tools and reading a tape measure. If you pass the aptitude test with a 70% or above, you move on to the interview phase. The interview phase is how you're ranked on the list. So if you score a 70 on the interview phase, you make it on the list. 70 to 100 are the scores that make it on the list. The tool comprehension is part of that interview score, along with education, work experience, and then the actual interview with the local and employers. So once you get that score, you'll be ranked on the list. And here is the how to apply. I can send out a PDF of our recruitment brochure, and then this also is laid out in there along with information that might help you in the interview process. That's about all I have for the PowerPoint. Um, any questions?
Awesome. That was super awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, send me that PDF and I will be happy to send it over to our teachers so that they can get it out to any of our students. Because we're
Absolutely.
recording the session and we have a few minutes here, I just wanted to read one of the questions that did come through, and it says, would I be expected to work in the, and I apologize if I pronounce this wrong, in the hoistway? Can most of the work be completed from a building floor? And then Greg, if you want to just respond to how you answered that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so pretty much the bulk of the work would be done inside the hoistway. You'll unload all the material in a staging area. There is prep work like cleaning the rails, sometimes building the entrances. So the door entrances that you see on the hoistway floors, when you press the call button, we install those. We also install the doors that are on the cab. We build the cab. And majority of that work is done from the working platform inside the hoistway. Sometimes to get that working platform up, we set up scaffolding. But majority of the work now is off a working platform or a false tar, a temporary elevator that we build inside the hoistway to work off of while installing all the vital components. I would add something to note. Okay, we got another question. Does everyone get hired from? So when we accept the 1,000 applicants, after you apply, if you make into that 1,000, you will get scheduled to take a elevator and EIA elevator aptitude test, which is a gatekeeper test with a passing score of a 70, would get you to the next step. So we don't know if you get a 70 or 100% on that test. It's a pass or fail. So once you pass that test, we usually lose about 25% or less. You'll get scheduled an interview. And that interview is pretty much what is the majority of your score, whether pass or fail, to make it onto our applicant list. There are questions on that interview that kind of shows what kind of person you are. And there's also a tool assessment test that has questions about 20 basic hand tools to verify that you have some kind of knowledge of the tools.
Just to put it in perspective, so we had 1,000 in 2019 when we did our recruitment in 2019. We had 1,000 applicants, and we ended up with 420 something on our list. So by the end of it, we only ended up with about 42% of the people who actually applied. Most of the work for apprentices, going back to what Greg was saying about that, the journeyman does most of the work in the hoistway, depending on the crew that you're on. Journeyman or the apprentices do a lot of the prep work, so you'll be working on the floors a lot of the time, helping the journeyman by prepping all the material, and then you pass off the material for him to install. Once you get past the initial time with a journeyman, you'll be and he develops that trust with you, then you'll be working in the hoistway more. And it also depends on what kind of elevators you're installing. When I first started, I was installing hydraulic elevators for Otis Elevator. We had 5 days to finish a 2-stop elevator, meaning there was only 2 floors. So it was very crucial that I got up to speed and worked with the mechanic well, and helped him inside and outside of the hoistway so that we can get it done in those 5 days. But if you're on a high rise, there's a lot more material to prep, so you'll spend more time prepping material than in the hoistway until that trust is developed.
Awesome. So we have a few minutes for any other questions. Students, if you have anything that you can think of, you can throw it in the chat box. Teachers, if you want to ask anything, you can unmute yourselves and ask away. Yeah.
So I would note one thing to piggyback off the question of that, does everyone get hired from the 1,000? So last year we hired approximately 200 and something people off our applicant list. And it kind of depends on the construction. So we're not seeing a lot of hiring this year. So that's why we postpone our recruitment. So you could be number 100 on the list out of 400 and possibly get hired within that year, or it might take you a year, or you might have to wait till the next recruitment. It is all based on the economy and what the construction side is looking at. And for the last 5-6 years, we've been at a pretty good sized boom. And right now we're kind of seeing a plateau, and we're yet to know what the economy has in store for us in 2021, 2022. So we're kind of predicting that we're not going to see a lot of hiring. That's why we postponed our recruitment to next year. And so if you're on the applicant list, there's a question, do applicants get dropped off the list? They need to reapply. So if you're on the applicant list currently and it expires, you'll get a notice to either stay on the list, remove yourself from the list, or if you have improved yourself from the last interview that you took in some classes at a city college or community college, a pre-apprenticeship program to, I'm not familiar, I believe Alameda County, Contra Costa has a few pre-apprenticeship programs. If you come back with one of those, you could re-interview and increase your score. So you do have a few options if you don't get hired off that list.
Awesome. Diablo Valley College has the pre-apprenticeship program. And it's like a 5 or 6 month long program. So if anybody's interested in that, let us know and we'll definitely get those to you. So we have about 4 or 5 minutes until our next guest is going to start. He's already here. We're super excited about that. But really quickly, Greg and Joel, can you each tell us, you know, as short or fast version as you can, what's the funnest or the coolest project that you ever got to work on, the coolest building you ever got to build or be a part of?
For me, would be my last job before working in the field and leaving the field to work full-time for the union would be the air traffic control tower at SFO. That was quite a challenge because there was no really way to get material to any of the floors because it was a tower and we were putting the elevator in. So it was quite high demand to get it installed, and it was kind of fun escorting big rigs on the runway with the federal police escorting all the material while they held off the planes. So, you know, kind of driving on the runway in my work van was quite the experience that, you know, you don't forget. And the views watching the planes take off from the top of the tower before it got installed was quite the scene. You don't get to see stuff like that every day.
In construction, I mean, I modernized some of the elevators at Pier 39. That was fun. Just because of the elements and having to work around all the people that were there and all that stuff and getting all the questions and stuff. When I did service, I was the service mechanic for the Oakland airport for about a year. And that was interesting, seeing how an airport runs in the backgrounds and all the different stuff. That was kind of fun. There's a lot of work to do at airports. So it's, you know, you're always busy with escalators, moving walks, elevators, dumbwaiters, all that stuff. So, I mean, just the variety of the job is what I enjoyed the most.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so very much. We invite you to stay on.
It's hard to follow those elevator guys. They're good people. My best friend's an elevator tech, so I know a lot about their trade. Once again, Terry Baldwin, IBEW Local 302. Been in the trade about going on 33 years this year. It's been great. It's a dream job because you're never complacent, or you can't be complacent. There's always something new every day. And looking back, and I was thinking about it over the weekend, you know, when I was an apprentice and all the different things that just seem so big and so large. But as you gain knowledge and experience, things kind of shorten up and those kind of things. I'm very nervous. This is just my natural ability when I'm doing things that I'm not in my comfort zone, you know, but here I am. And I have Rachel Schumacher, my counterpart, is also on this. And we've got a couple things to share. So if that's all right, I'm just going to go into the videos just to get you, you know, guys and gals, if that's what we have. And we'll present that. So here we go. Maybe.
Rachel, I made you a co-host, so you should have the ability to unmute yourself and share screen, but let me know if y'all are having any trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to Rachel because something, there
Nope.
we go.
Oh, she's got it going.
Yeah, here's the first video. We don't have any volume.
You have to
Rachel, can we resolve that somehow?
take yourself off mute, Rachel. We should be able to hear it if you unmute yourself.
Sorry for the hiccup. There we go.
All right, let's start this over. Yeah, I'm Rachel Shoemake. I've been an electrician since 2004. I went through the apprenticeship program, the 5-year apprenticeship program, 2004. And I'm now an assistant business manager and organizer with Terry. So this has been an awesome ride. Let's check out the video here.
Journey level union electrician. I am.
Is that better? You guys can hear it?
Yeah.
In general, I work on any systems, electrical systems under 600 volts. So it could be lighting, it could be power, it could be distribution, it could be a device, a motor. We maintain all the electrical systems along 7.5 miles of San Francisco waterfront that the port operates. So in San Mateo County, we're local 617's jurisdiction. We worked on anything from schools. I worked on setting up the cameras up and down 101. San Francisco Airport for a bulk of my career, working on the baggage system, the international terminal, helping to install 8.5 miles of conveyor. This site here will be a parking structure that's going to be attached to the Conrack and the people mover that's going to be going into the LA airport. Before I got here, I was at the metro station, underground, working on the train line, going into LAX. That was a little different. I don't like underground. I like the sun, but I learned a lot. I was 2 years on an apartment high-rise, 53 floors. Before that, I was at LAX doing the Terminal 7. I started investigating all of the trades. The electrical industry was one of the industries that touched every single other trade. To me, it was the most versatile. It's one of the first on the site. It's one of the last on the site. So I decided to pursue it. It's great money, great benefits. It's a wonderful job environment. I'm outside a lot. I'm not sitting in a cubicle. So it's physically challenging and it's very rewarding because you make things work.
Thank you, Rachel. And then we got one more I think we're gonna show, right?
Yeah. Just ready.
We're just hoping to develop some dialogue.
Get out of there.
Rachel, are you going to be sharing your screen again?
Yes.
When you do that, when you hit share screen, down at the bottom of that dialog box, that window comes up. If you could click optimize for video and sound.
Gotcha.
I'm writing notes.
Thank you, Tom. So am I.
All right.
First, whether it's the lab or the classroom and the teachers, everything is above and beyond, and I'm learning so much, and I hope to learn as much as I can.
My first year as a commercial apprentice has been going really well since I topped out in 2013 as a residential journeyman. All the guys that I've worked with are really nice. They show you how to do things. All you gotta do is ask the right questions, and they'll show you. They're more than happy to.
My first year as a residential apprentice, I mean, we've done a lot of different things. I've learned a lot of cool new things that I never thought I'd learn. And like first time coming into this, I didn't really know much. And then now it's like unbelievable, the stuff that I could do.
I actually have two buddies that just finished up their 5th year this previous year, so now they are officially journeymen. And they were real close to me. I was at a point in my life where I was working in a steel mill, and I wanted to go further than that. I felt like I was wasting a lot of potential. Next thing you know, I fell in love. There's there's not anything else I'd rather do with my life than be an electrician.
What keeps me going is the union pride behind it. Coming from that background, I definitely carry that with me. What guided me was definitely my father. He's a union carpenter, and he told me to try this or the plumbers, and I aced the electricians, got in, and I've been running with it ever since.
But my mom is a teacher, and so growing up, it was always college. I took college classes in high school, and then towards the end of my senior year, the blue collar life appealed to me, so I just thought I could go make some money while I'm learning a lot of cool stuff.
What we always are looking for are individuals that are teachable. I mean, everyone's out there looking for the same type of applicant, but we're no different. We want somebody that is teachable, that's going to be dependable, is going to be, someone that's going to be responsible with coming to work. Things that an individual needs to succeed. Well, mechanical ability is definitely out there. You need that. We turn wrenches. We do things like that with the trade. But really, the other things are just somebody that's going to be dependable. We need somebody that's going to show up to work. We'll teach you. We'll teach you the electricity portion of it. Experience is always good if you have that. Individuals have gotten in with some of the experience that they have collected over the years, but really being dependable, mechanical ability, and knowing being a teachable person. Some of the most rewarding things are when you are involved with a project, especially if you're there from start to finish, when you see how everything comes together and you have to work with the other trades to accomplish a certain goal. I think when that project is done and you drive by there and you see, hey, I was part of that. I helped, put that together. I think that's very rewarding. I think another thing that someone enjoys is that you get to see a variety of things. You're not stuck doing the same thing day in, day out, and you really get an opportunity to work either in a hospital, schools, steel mills, factories, and I think that's very rewarding over time.
If someone was interested in joining this trade, I would definitely steer them in this direction. It's a great trade, very tight-knit, good benefits, good pension, good retirement.
One of the most rewarding things for me is just going to be to get my own service truck, and then, I don't know, just to be able to label myself as a union member and an electrician.
I'd say go for it. Me, I knew I wasn't necessarily one that I wanted to go to college, even though I was perfectly capable. There's just something about working that just really gets me motivated, whether it's working on equipment or running some conduit, whatever it might be. I enjoy all the different challenges that I face.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that.
No problem, Terry.
So the big thing is what you want to accomplish and being young and still trying to figure those things out. But these are just views of what's out there for you. We have a lot of membership that have gone through the apprenticeship and have gone back to college, because when you go through a 5-year apprenticeship like ours, the one good thing is you're not incurring any student debt. So in effect, when you're a journeyman and you're working and you're establishing yourself, then you have the ability, the financial resources to go back to college and chase some of those things that you may still have, that fire burning in you to be more educated and do different things. But like I said, this isn't a job, this is a career. So 5 years, your basic necessities of applying for the apprenticeship is to have your algebra requirements, 1 year passing grade, full year of schooling with algebra with a C or better, driver's license, 18 years of age, and you just kind of go through that. And we, on our website, you will see a tab that says apprenticeship. So you go to IBEW 302, type that in, hit the tab for the apprenticeship, and it'll show you the requirements. Now, Rachel, I think you have the announcement for the apprenticeship. If you could put that up there for a minute, I'd appreciate it. But like I said, very basic things. I just can't emphasize how excited I get to be able to share these things, and that my ability to be working for the union now in the office. It's going to be 9 years at the end of the month, but it's just the whole picture of me being able to reach out and help people. And there is the application announcement, and like I said, you'll see it here in this snapshot, but also know that you'll be able to reach me through an email, through text messaging, however you all want to communicate. And then we have our wage sheet, and you'll see right there, first year apprentice starts off at $22.10 an hour. And that's not knowing anything. Some people come in with a little bit of experience, some come in with no experience, and that's fine. There's no age requirement beyond being 18 years of age. You could be 50 years old and try and apply for the apprenticeship, and that would be fine. The beauty of it is, though, is working and the retirement, because I'm almost at that stage where, I have to start thinking about, do I have enough to take care of myself when I'm retired? And I believe this trade has been able to provide that for me. I started as a non-union electrician and then became a union electrician. So like I said, it's just about the industry. I think I'd like to see if Rachel, if you'd like to speak on it, because I was organized in, I came in as an unrepresented worker. Rachel went through the whole program. So if you want to speak on that, Rachel, you can speak about the apprenticeship better than I can.
Yeah, the process is a little, it's a little tough. It's very competitive. I think last 2 years ago when we had applications open, we had over 450 applicants. And I think we took, how many did we take? 20, 25 apprentices?
It was 2027 was 454 applied, 277 sat for the test.
So the process is pretty intense. It takes some time to get through the whole process. But once you get in, you start a regular school year and you go to school 2 nights a week. I was working 40 hours a week and going to school 2 nights a week. You can work overtime as well, as long as it doesn't interfere with your apprenticeship classes. So we that's one of the things that the union does, is we value that education element. We make sure that we are the ones that are holding each other accountable for the education part, so that we're skilled and trained as a whole membership. And then you do that for 5 years. We have a theory class, and then we have a lab class. We do welding. I mean, the amount of education that we get is pretty awesome. I had a great experience. Didn't know that I would need to know how to weld as an electrician, but come to find out you do. And conduit bending, circuitry. I'm an instrumentation specialist. I do controls. So a lot of my experience has been out in refineries or at power plants. I used to commission and start up new power plants. So for me, the education that I got through my apprenticeship program gave me that confidence when I graduated that I could go anywhere and do any job. And I knew that I would be valued and be able to contribute to whatever company I was working for.
Awesome. We have about 5-6 minutes until we're going to open it up to questions.
Please.
So just, yeah.
So questions, do I just go down to the chat?
Yeah, and I can moderate them and read them off unless you want me to just start right now.
Fire away, and then I'll just answer them to the best of my ability.
Okay, so the first one that we have in the chat box is, it says, how long is one period?
So you have 5 years, 8,000 hours total of field and schooling. A period can last anywhere between, let's say, 1,600 hours per period. And then once you accomplish that, that's when the raises come into effect.
Awesome. Somebody says, okay, so this one is for Rachel. Did you ever feel intimidated, or do you ever feel intimidated or treated any differently as a woman in the trade?
That's a good question. Yes. I've never been intimidated. I actually grew up I have 4 older brothers, and I was the first granddaughter out of 25 grandsons. So I grew up basically in this culture. So no one can intimidate me, but I've witnessed it in the field, and that goes for both men and women. I've witnessed harassment on the men's side as well. So it's not something that, we all think about it's a woman's issue, but it's not. It's actually a people issue. So for me, that wasn't something that would stop me. And what was the other part of that?
Let's see.
I think you answered that
Or
question.
yeah, I think you answered it perfectly. Treated differently or intimidated.
Yeah, treated differently for sure. Anytime I'd show up to a job site, first time I was dispatched there, my foreman or my journeyman would look at me and kind of roll their eyes and go like this. And I'd say, just give me something to do. And then I would just go do the job and come back and say, give me something else to do. And that's kind of how I did it. But yeah, you'll get treated differently if you're a man or a woman. Usually Terry and I are almost the same size, and
We small, but
as an
mighty
electrician.
mighty in experience and knowledge and probably attitude too. But I've mellowed out with time. What other questions you got, Aaron? Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel, did you finish? Were you finished? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to say, us shorter people and smaller people definitely are treated differently on the construction site than others.
But then it's probably just that much more rewarding when you blow them away with the work that you know how to do and the knowledge that you have. And then they're like, okay, my bad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I enjoy the work. I love the work more than anything. So that's my satisfaction on the day. But I've been told, you're not so bad for a woman. And I said, yeah, you're not so bad for a dude either. So
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask, and I didn't get a chance to ask our first guest, which I'll ask again in a few minutes, but how do you feel the industry has changed, or has it been affected with the whole COVID pandemic going on right now? I mean, obviously things are shut down for a while, and now there's a ton of new safety protocols. What kind of changed, and what is changing, and what do you foresee happening?
Well, for me, I've gone to some job sites. I'm very careful, my age, some of the physical issues I have with my lungs and asthma and things, so I have to be careful. But there's a lot of safety. You walk on a job, they're going to take your name down. How do you feel? They'll shoot you with a thermometer, make sure you're not running a temperature. But really, it's about holding each other accountable that I'm finding on the jobs, brothers and sisters out there, trying to do the right things and watching out for each other, keeping your distance and those things. But it's changed the way that we look at the job sites now. I'm sure Rachel has a good view on it too.
yeah, I was just going to bring up that in construction, we've been very fortunate. Safety is one of our number one priorities, and we've been very fortunate that very few jobs have actually been shut down. So a lot of our members have been working this whole time. So it's one of the industries that has pretty much made it through this COVID incident, which is really great. So if anyone's looking for a job that, you'll be working when there's pandemics, this would be one.
Back to getting the perspective of a woman in the field, what is the ratio women to men in the industry?
Women on average make up about 3% of all construction workers. The electrical field, we have a little bit more, the percentage is higher. But when you're out on a job site, most of the time you are the only woman. You might see I worked at a Kaiser hospital a long time ago. I think there were 2 women on that whole site, and there were probably 200 to 300 workers altogether. I've worked out at Phillips 66. We had a huge project out there. I was out there for about a year and a half. That project, there were probably 6 women and probably around 1,000, 6 electricians, I should say. Around 1,000 people working on that whole site. but you're in Nomex and fire retardant clothing with goggles and face, hard hats and everything. So it's hard to tell who's a man or a woman a lot of times when you're out there in the refineries, but it's typically around 2 to 3% when you're working in the field.
Gotcha. So one of my favorite questions is, what is the coolest project or, site that you worked on? Our last guests had some really cool answers. So I'm curious to hear what your guys' favorite project was, building, site that you worked on or that you've contributed to throughout your career.
In the area, if you look around, just about any industrial complex, whether it's refineries, power plants, water treatment plants, I've been out there. Some of the commercial buildings, some of the taller buildings. But I honestly say probably one of the coolest projects is right before I came into office here, I ran a BART project. And so you're dealing with large cable and big distances and big, heavy work. And to me, that was the most fun because I love that kind of work. I like to be challenged mentally and physically. And that one really took me to task. But I think working in the city, I've worked in the peninsula. I've worked in all over the country before I came home and got into the union. But I think they're all unique, and I've enjoyed every one of them, to be honest with you. So, and that's 30-something years of being in the industry. I get fired up every day I come to work.
Yeah, for me, working in the refineries is really awesome. I got to run some conduit about 200 feet up a column, which we had to climb up there, pull all of our materials and tools up. And the delta looks pretty great from 200 feet in the air. And that was over at Shell. Probably my favorite though, I've done 2 power plants where I've been there from the beginning of the building, where you go out there and it's nothing but a big muddy lot. And then I've been there through the end where I'm commissioning and starting up that power plant to make sure that we're getting power out to households. So it's really great, and you feel really accomplished when you see all that coming together. And it's just a really great feeling.
Awesome. 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 Okay. Let me see. Something just popped in here. Somebody said, what's the worst electrical shock that you or Rachel have ever had, Terry?
I got hit with, I was in downtown Oakland, and I got hit with what they consider commercial electrical voltage, 477 volts. And luckily, I didn't get caught up on it, but it definitely left a swell. I covered the scar with a tattoo, but it was a rude awakening. You have to really respect electricity. You don't have to be fearful of it, but you got to respect it.
Yeah, I'm happy to say I haven't experienced anything like that. I always check everything that I touch.
Yeah, I think my problem was it wasn't in my control. They had checked everything. I went to take care of it, and somebody else made a move while I was actually had my hands in it. And live and learn.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. Well, students, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up if we have any last minute questions to either of our 4 guests that we've had today. I did have a couple of them let me know that if you guys think of something like later this afternoon or tomorrow or something, I can share their contact information with you. And then they'll send me over, the PDFs of the hiring processes and such. But you guys, I really want to urge you to check out the websites of both the elevators and the IBEW. And, if any of it sounds interesting, reach out to them, reach out to your teachers. We can maybe connect you if you want to, have a little combo with somebody get a little more info. Teachers, do you have any questions? Teachers and admins that we can ask our guests?
I have one. I was wondering if you guys had any tips for students who are going into these fields, like any recommendations on what they should be working on or what they should be looking into right now. I know the school helps them once they're in there, but if there's anything that can make them, I guess, pop out or do any extra work. beforehand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
You could take, if you could take some courses like community college, AC theory, DC theory, because then you start getting the basic knowledge of what circuitry and how things work. But that always seems beneficial before you apply for the apprenticeship. Just gives you a little stepping stone above.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's the same type of stuff as what Terry just mentioned, because we do pretty much everything. We do plumbing, carpentry, welding, electrical, sheet metal work, everything. So any kind of classes you can take at a community college. Big thing for us right now is, like Terry mentioned, AC theory, DC theory, learning the electrical stuff. In most of the fields that require any kind of electrical work, those are what you want to start with. Those are the bases, the ground floor. For us, if you get any kind of certifications, CPR, OSHA 10, OSHA 30 going in, it helps you get in there. It helps you, you look better to the companies and to the other members that are going to interview you for us. Welding certs, for us, it's structural. You want to be structural wire feed, structural stick. But that's pretty much it for us. The rest of the stuff we'll teach you.
Awesome. So all of our students who are participating today are in either the engineering pathway or the building trades pathway at a number of our schools. We have a wide range of schools here invited today for high schools. And so we thank you guys so very, very much for bringing these opportunities, bringing this information to our students. Again, students, if you have any questions that you think of at the end, or teachers, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll give it one more second if there's any last minute, if anybody needs to unmute themselves. But I think we kind of covered everything. And again, Greg, Joel, Terry, and Rachel, thank you so very much for coming and participating with us. This was day one of our speaker series, and you guys kicked it off awesome. So I can't thank you guys enough. So Anna, if you want to stop